Good day there, Umies, and welcome back to one of them reaction videos. And that's me attempt of imitating one of them orcs from Warhammer 40k. And I'll stop that now, cause god damn. Me and doing voices. Kinda reminds me of that cringe video that I did long ago. Which is now no longer on the internet, cause you know, was a video on my original channel. Anyway, before we actually start here as well, so apparently YouTube removed the first part for the videos for the the part one of the Elric's videos that I did. Apparently, to be fair, I don't think I did a proper job of censoring the stuff in that. Working on part 3, by the way, but if any of you guys could just look up and see if it's still there, because if I actually look on my channel, it's still there, so don't know what's up with that. Anyway, let's press play and see what's going to happen with the video we're reacting today, which is SCP-165, The Creeping Sands, or the Creeping Hungry Sand of Tule. Huh. Finally, a Dr. Voight goddammit, Detective Voight video. Again. Yay. I know.
Have you ever stepped on hot sand at the beach? So hot that it would burn your skin? Maybe it wasn't just sand, but SCP-165. This object is a colony of parasitic mites. At first glance, they're rather ordinary mites, only very small. Individual organisms are only 750 micrometers long.
Okay.
Creatures have 8 legs.
That's small.
And both genetically and anatomically, they're fully consistent with dust mites. However, in their behavior, the anomalous mites are more akin to hermit crabs, who like to carry all sorts of garbage on themselves. Unusual microscopic creatures attach a large amount of sand to their backs. Thus, a trillion anomalous organisms are outwardly indistinguishable from an ordinary sand dune. Except, this dune might eat you up. Such collective organisms are not uncommon in the world of the anomalous. The Foundation already knows of at least one such object. It's a collective mind acting as a whole.
A hive mind.
SCP-165
I think that's
like that
the term.
Each mite within the colony acts individually, regardless of the intentions and needs of its relatives. There can be no question of any cooperation between the mites. On the contrary, they enter into powerful competition with each other over food. And they feed on
Merde.
food, including human flesh. These parasites, like mosquitoes, sense the carbon dioxide and sugars that a living organism releases. As soon as the mites smell the deliciousness, they immediately begin to quickly move their feet towards their prey. At the same time, they'll walk all over their own brethren, knocking them down. It's thanks to such a race for the prey that the entire colony takes on the appearance of a moving sand dune. When the creature's teeth dig into the skin of its prey, they release a special chemical toxin. It causes a slight numbness at first, much like what happens with a flea or a mosquito bite. Therefore, a person lying on such an anomalous sand will not suspect anything. In the meantime, millions of mites will have already started to eat their dinner. A rotating funnel of microscopic predators forms around the prey. The efficiency and speed with which the mites devour the victim would cause envy from piranhas. Usually, the anomalous swarm gnaws the victims to the bone within a few minutes. In this case, the victim may not even have time to feel the pain. They'll continue to sleep peacefully while their body's being eaten at lightning speed. This effect is achieved due to the analgesic effect of the toxin. Ordinary mites can be killed with pesticides, but against the anomalous parasites, such remedies would be useless, with the exception of some especially aggressive chemicals. Heat is a more effective way to fight off the anomaly. The mites do not tolerate high temperatures. To avoid overheating, they hide in shady corners during the day and go hunting at night. It's usually sleeping people and other animals that become their victims. Does this mean that now every inhabitant of the planet needs to avoid sand, and all sandy beaches need to be closed? Fortunately, the distributed area of the anomalous mites is quite narrow. The strange sand dunes became known for the first time more than 80 years ago. It was then that the US government noticed that something was wrong with some deserts in the country. We're talking about Arizona's Tule Desert, which is not that far from the US military's Goldwater Air Force bombing range. The small town of Fredericksburg is located in this area. It was once inhabited by German migrants, but now that area is completely uninhabited. The city didn't last long. Fredericksburg was founded at the end of the first decade of the 19th century, and by 1908, it had already acquired the status of a ghost town. The fact that not a single person was left in the settlement became clear when a cavalry detachment passed by. Not knowing about the anomalous characteristic of the region, the soldiering horsemen decided to stay overnight in an abandoned hotel building. However, they were unable to get enough sleep. How can one fall asleep here, when right before your eyes, 7 healthy horses instantly turned to a pile of gnawed bones? The soldiers rushed to run away from the place, but 4 of them still failed to escape. They stayed there forever in the desert, their remains having never been found. Survivors claimed that right before their eyes, sand, moving like water, quickly filled the empty buildings. The government probably didn't understand what to do with it for a while. After all, the first attempts to destroy the object weren't made until the 1950s. A military training ground was created in the anomaly's area. Under the guise of military tests, bombardments were carried out, the purpose of which was to destroy the carnivorous dune. The number of parasites has indeed been reduced. However, in the 1980s, it became clear that the bombing wasn't enough. It's also necessary to completely remove the sandy soil in which the mites live. The Fire Eaters, as Mobile Task Force Epsilon calls itself, took on the task. At the entrance to the town, the operatives were greeted by a sign that warned visitors in German to stay away from the hungry, creeping sands. The operatives realized that there was too much sand, and it would be impossible to transport all of it. So, they decided to reduce its volume. The employees used flamethrowers for this. They scorched most of the sand, turning it into glass. About 4 tons of sand remained active, per se. The operatives loaded the remaining anomaly onto a transport and sent it to Zone 14, where the carnivorous sands remain to this day. Due to the object's nature, it should be treated as a dangerous contagious pathogen. Therefore, procedures such as quarantine and sterilization are mandatory. The hungry, creeping sands always tend to move, of course. To limit their movement, microwave generators have been installed in the containment area. They maintain a high temperature around the perimeter of the territory, creating a border over which the mites are unable to cross. The creatures are fed every 9 days. Their diet consists of approximately 1,650 pounds, or 750 kilograms of live cattle. If the mites were to not be fed in time, then I'm afraid they'd find their own food, and even the heat wouldn't stop them. Foundation documents don't say anything about breeding the creatures, but I guess they're fine with that. After all, their population has been stable for more than 100 years. Their reproduction mechanism is most likely the same as that of ordinary mites. Otherwise, something would have been written about it in the object file. So, why did anomalous mites live in the Tule Desert? Why were they not found in other deserts? Personally, I believe that previously, the living dune could have lived in Central Asia, somewhere in the Gobi Desert. Let's recall the numerous finds of dinosaur skeletons in this desert. Official science claims that the remains are well preserved, thanks to the sand. I agree with this, but only partially. I believe that anomalous carnivorous mites lived in those parts, and it was they who gnawed the bodies of the ancient giants to the bones. When they had eaten all the food in the area, they began to travel from desert to desert in search of prey. Their last refuge was the Tule Desert. Now, they're no longer in other deserts due to the fact that the mites always act as one mega herd. All the paranormal mites on the planet have huddled together in one swarm, which under no circumstances breaks up into smaller formations. This explanation seems not only logical to me, but also very reassuring. Still, one does not want to lie quietly on a sandy beach, not having to worry that at any given moment, one might be left with only one's bones. But, if we assume that these creatures are still present in other corners of the globe, then how would one escape from them? First, if you see a dune rapidly moving in your direction, do not, under any circumstances, run to the shade. It's there that the anomalies will only more conveniently devour you. If the weather is sunny, and there's a hot spot nearby, run there. It's better that you get overheated, but still stay alive. If you have flammable substances on hand, this is also good. In this case, you can light a fire around you, and the mites won't be able to approach you. I would also advise you to climb up a tall tree to the very top and wait until the object retreats. But you're unlikely to find any trees in the desert. By the way, this is another clue as to why SCP-165 settled in the Tule Desert and not somewhere else. After all, there's an abandoned city with a bunch of empty buildings, which means shade is provided. Perhaps in the Gobi Desert and other similar places, there was also enough shade before, but nowadays, the creatures simply wouldn't survive there. Despite the fact that after meeting SCP-165, the victim is very quickly reduced to nothing but bones, I still don't think the parasites are that voracious. I believe that one mite is able to eat very little human flesh. But when there are trillions of such mites, and each one pinches off just a piece, the result is visible in minutes. If you take a small amount of mites, then they could even be useful. In the cosmetic industry, for example. After all, there's a procedure where small fish eat the remnants of dead skin on the feet. Carnivorous mites could also perform a similar function. But I'm afraid that they'll still breed, not like ordinary mites, as I said earlier, but instead, much faster. In this case, clean and smooth heels could cost you your life. So, it's best to play it safe and stay away from the moving sands.
Yeah, I would stay away too.
Sleep in the desert. Do you think there are similar sand dunes in other places? Or were there just one-of-a-kind specimens in the Tule Desert? Write your guesses in the comments.
Honestly, I think just a unique specimen there in that desert, but that's just me. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm actually kind of happy that it didn't like buffer, so yay. And yeah. Hope to see you guys in the next video of or stream or of whatever I'll be making or streaming. So yeah. Bye.